Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Cai Graham, caigraham.com. Are you struggling with your teenager at the minute? Are you at a stage where whatever you do, you feel like you're at loggerheads and you don't know how to discipline, or the punishments aren't working with your teenager? You're in the right place. Thank you for joining us. This broadcast is part of my Teen Toolbox Tuesday. And this week we're talking all about discipline and the difference between discipline and punishments. Yeah. Punishments to me, and discipline, I guess, to me, are all about control, all about how the adult feels that they are able to maintain their children's level of behaviour that fits within their boundaries, which fits within their expectations. And if the kids go out of those boundaries, then punishments are the normal sort of acceptable way of dealing with said infringements. How's that working out for you? Yeah, it's a tricky one. The thing is that, to me, I think the punishments tend to be a last-ditch attempt at maintaining control. Yeah? Teenagers do not like being controlled. Yeah? So there you're going to be like this. So let's see if we can find a different path where you guys are going to be able to communicate with your kids so that they listen, and that there will be less conflict in the house and more cooperation. Woohoo! How cool does that sound? Because punishments and discipline with hot-headed teenagers, some are very malleable, some just roll their eyes and get on with it, but there are others that don't. It leads to conflict. And the punishments then lead to anger, resentment, lies. And what happens is that the child, whatever age they are, when they're sort of 4, 5 and 6 or 2, shove them on a naughty step, they burst into tears and then they sort of soon forget about it. Teenagers aren't so good at that. They bubble and they build resentment and they get really arsey, and sometimes who can blame them? So the point is that these lies and resentment and anger, it's all actually, when it gets to that point, it's all aimed at you, the parent. Why are they being so mean? Why are they being so, they just don't understand. And what's gone out of the window is the actual misdemeanor that happened. So really what's happening there is the punishment isn't really having the effect that you wanted it to anyway. So if your sort of daughter, sort of misbehaves or does something that you didn't want to, and you tell her, right, you're not having your phone for 3 days, she's just going to get really knocked at you, but she's not going to learn invariably. I mean, sometimes it's cool, sometimes it does work, but invariably she's just going to be cross for 3 days and think how she's the victim and how it's all your fault and it's got nothing to do with the fact that she's actually breaking the rules. So for me, the approach is slightly different. For a start, why I must admit, I do bang on about teenagers. I think they get a really bad press, and I very much am here to redress that balance, because I think if we work together with teenagers, with our kids, oh my God, I mean, it's so much better. So what I try and do is change the adult's mindset, the parent's mindset as well, because if you've heard me say, there's a little equation I use the whole time, which is E plus R equals O. The event plus your response really dictates what the outcome is going to be. Yeah. So what I try and do is say to parents, shit's going to happen, but it's your response to that will dictate a good or a bad outcome. So the whole of my Teen Toolbox Tuesday is really helping you to respond in a sort of more beneficial way. Yeah, if this is making sense, please subscribe to my channel. But you know, you'll then get sort of you'll be able to get access to all these goodies. There are hundreds of videos now. Well, maybe, I don't know if I've hit the 100 mark, but there's at least sort of 70, 80. And do me a favour, do subscribe. I can't remember what side it is, but there's a little bell, and if you click on that, that sort of basically notifies you when I've done and when I've put an update up. And by all means, please comment and share below, because it's lovely to hear your comments. But the point is, let's go back to why do kids misbehave, but why do teenagers specifically misbehave? They are exerting their independence. Don't blame them, it's biology. It is, seriously, it's the hormones. The hormones and biology are preparing your child to fly the nest, for goodness sake. And if they clung onto the apron strings the whole blimmin' time, they really wouldn't be very good fledglings, would they? So it's really, it's all these sort of hormones that are firing up that have got them so confused. And yeah, I get it, you confuse as well, and it creates anger and whatever. But also just remember, you know, many of you are probably saying, yeah, okay, Kai, I get that, but why are they so bloody badly behaved? It's biology. It's not their fault. What happens is that their brains are developing. Come on, their brains are, it's a moving target. It's a work in progress. And it actually stops, sort of, the whole process stops developing. Girls sort of early 20s, boys late. And if you're just starting on this cycle, good luck to you. At least I've got your back, so you can stay tuned. But the point is, and the worst thing is, oh my God, the worst thing is the last bit of the brain to be developed is, yes, the decision making, the one that the prefrontal cortex, the sensible hat of the brain, the bit that sort of makes them think rationally. So whilst that is developing and it's not firing on all cylinders, that little old nugget in the middle called the amygdala, which is the one that goes, oh, sod it, let's do it anyway, that bit of the brain, that's working on overdrive. And that's probably why your darling teenager's judgment might, for the time being, be slightly impaired, to say the least. So that's why they don't think rationally. That's why they sort of, you know, everything's immediate. That's why they just react rather than think. And it's our role, and I'll come to that in a minute, but it's our role to support them and to guide them, whilst, you know, to show them the best course of action whilst everything's developing in here. Why also do darling teenagers, please excuse me, why do they also misbehave? Well, they're pushing your buttons. They are pushing the boundaries. It's their job. Yeah, not so good to hear, but that's the way of it. That's what happens. And it's, you know, that once you sort of realise that, it allows you to start picking your battles and think, do you know what, that one's not even worth fighting. And so understanding that they're there to press your buttons and rile you, and because, you know, they're questioning authority. They're trying to work out sort of, well, is this their way of thinking as well, or is it just yours? And how are they going to be independent if they don't question that voice of authority? So all this is perfectly normal. Yeah, is that reassuring in any way at all? I hope so. Also, just have a quick think. Are your boundaries realistic? Because if they're not, I don't blame them kicking off. You know, for argument's sake, this is a silly example, but it makes a point. If you've got two kids and one is 15 and one is 6, putting them to bed at the same time is probably not, it's understandable after a long day, especially during the summer holidays, as we are in now. But it's probably not that realistic, is it? Or if you decide to have a lovely family fun day, going to watch a Disney movie, I don't know, Frozen or whatever, you know, not a good example, but it's probably not really going to be that fantastic for the older child. So set your boundaries and make sure they are realistic, because otherwise your teenager will spot this at 100 paces. So, and also work out, why is your teen misbehaving? What are the triggers? Maybe it's someone or something that keeps on sparking the same thing. Maybe there's something going on and it's every Wednesday after school, and just try and work out what's going there, because something, I'm not saying it is, but there could be something slightly more going on. So look for the triggers. Also, and it's worth looking, just have a think about, hang on a minute, why is my child doing this? And do you know what? In fairness, most of us behave and act with a positive intention. And I know you might go, Kai, you're having a laugh here, but have a think what the potential positive intention might be. They could be looking for your attention. It could be a cry for help. It could, I don't know. You will know your teen better, but has there been a slight change in behaviour? Is something going on that you weren't aware of? So it's not always they're kicking off because they just feel like it and they're being tricky. So just start unpicking stuff and dig a little bit deeper. That might just help, yeah? So what am I saying here? Well, in my humble opinion, wait for it, punishments backfire. It's all right to, we in our family, when my kids were little, when they were sort of 2 and 3, had a naughty step. And oh my God, it was so powerful. Tell you what, the day I realised it no longer worked was an absolute turning point for me. I had to totally review my discipline tactics. But it's all right when they're little, because they do as they're told. But it's when you sort of say, that's it, go to your room, or that's it, you're grounded. Teenagers don't always play ball. They have a mind of their own, and if you're not careful, they start exerting their own authority by voting with their feet. And if that gets out of control, that can be really scary, because actually you're painting yourself into a corner. So have a think about it when I say punishments backfire. Thanks, but Kai, what have you got to suggest otherwise then? Yeah, wait for it. Teamwork. Teamwork with you and your child. Who's the adult here? Yeah? And what is your long-term goal? What I'm going to mind read here, I hope, and if not, give me a shout, CaiGraham.com. I would presume that when you've got a family, that your end result, your long-term goal is to create healthy, well-adjusted kids, and you equip them to go out into the world, and they are able to deal with what life throws at them, and that they're happy and healthy. So that's my presumption that I'm going to do. So, okay, right, that's said, that's a given. So why are we doing all this? Why are we creating all these discipline and all their rules? Well, to guide them. So, well, how do we do it most effectively? We get them on board. Yes, it's your life, but more importantly, it's their life as well. So, we spend our adult lives going, oh, push the boundaries and you're the captain of your own ship and all this sort of shit. Well, why don't we just let our kids be captain of their ship whilst let them be captain and you're at the helm? Does that make sense? You've got the rudder, you've got the rudder. That might just work for a few years. So what the best thing to do is, therefore, I've got something in my eye, but I hope you don't mind. Therefore, the approach I would suggest is educate your child that actions have consequences. Because once they connect the dots there, it actually... It allows them to start making their own decisions, which is vitally important if you are wanting your child to go out into the adult world and grow into a healthy and well-adjusted adult. That's the long and the short of it, isn't it? So consequences, not punishment, in my book, are the most, is a better course of action of going. So what happens then is that you guys, parents, carers, whatever it is, guardians, it's all, our families they take all different shapes and sizes nowadays, don't they? But if your child and you can cooperate together in their upbringing, I know it might be alien to a lot of you, but it bloody well works. So work with me here, keep an open mind. But they start cooperating. If you discuss with them, this is the way we're going to go, then they sort of start buying into it, as long as you give them a say, as long as their voice is heard, as long as you listen to them. They start buying into this because they've actually signed up to it. And by discussing everything with your kids, you both start to understand what the ground rules are, and you are able to manage both of your expectations. So for argument's sake, if you sort of said, or if your child, Mum, can I get to Sally's party tomorrow night? Yeah, of course you can, but don't be back too late. Wonder what your expectations are to that, and I wonder what your child's expectations are to that. You have to be specific, and they have to be agreed in advance, so that when your darling son walks in from Sally's party at 2 a.m, you probably were expecting them a bit earlier, and they were going, oh my God, but I had to get a taxi at 1:30 and the party was in full flow, so I left really early. Yeah? So agree the ground rules first of all, early on. But the point is, by helping your child to understand about consequences, rather than if you don't do what I say, you'll get punished. If they understand the consequences, that starts developing their decision-making process. They'll start thinking about it slightly more rationally. That's helping your prefrontal cortex develop and joining all the neurons together, but also it develops their internal discipline. And yeah, they're going to get it wrong. And yeah, as a parent, you're going to get it wrong. And as long as you sort of communicate and go, God, we screwed up there, sorry, what else do we do? There's my cat. It's a two-way process. But by assisting them and supporting them, you help them develop their internal discipline. How cool is that? I mean, come on, that's got to work. And also what it does is it gives your child back the responsibility, that decision-making process, the fact that they are in control, right? Do you remember at the top of the video, I said kids don't like control? They don't like being controlled. They don't mind being in control, or they don't mind a bit of compromise as long as it's all sort of fair and upfront. Yeah? So it gives them the responsibility of making the decision for themselves. And yes, if they get it wrong, then there are consequences, which, if you've just followed any of the above, will be agreed in, in advance. And that's really what your role is. As I've said all along, your role as a parent is to help guide your child, help them navigate through adolescence. Oh, go away, you silly cat. To help them understand what the rules are. And as long as they understand that those rules are for their benefit. If they think, come here then. Am I going? No, I'll just ignore her. If they think that those rules are just for you, for your benefit, and they're going to get nothing from it, then let's face it, it's not gonna work. But as long as they know that I'm going to pick her up, and you can jolly well see what all the fuss is about. Come here. There you are. Come and say hello to the camera. There you are. You see, I'm an empty nester. So this one is my, she's my one that quite clearly needs discipline, but she can't read to say I'm doing a YouTube video, but there you are. So yeah, it's our role to support our kids. Actually, let's face it, we need to be role models here. You know, if you say, don't go to a party and come back drunk, and then you're sitting there sort of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sitting in a stupor watching the telly like this, you know, it's not going to work. You have to walk the talk a bit. So are you a good role model for your child? Are you, you know, did you, when they were little, did you promise that you would come back after a night out and kiss them goodnight, or and then you didn't, and you rolled in at 3 and sort of overpaid the babysitter and da-da-da-da? Connect the dots here. So as an adult, it's our job to be a good role model so that our children can work out the best course of action, yeah? It's there to support them. I tell you one thing which is really important, and I haven't even touched on it. They are going to screw up. That's what happens, you know, because we all learn a bit by the trip and fall method in life. So, but the point is when they screw up, they need to understand that you've got their back. That, okay, you might not agree with their actions. Okay, you might not like what they've done. But if they know that you love them unconditionally, regardless, whoa, that's powerful. And don't, just do me a favour, because I've heard so many people, well, of course they know I love them. Yeah, but have you told them? Have you? How often do you tell your kids you love them? That you're proud of them? That the choices that they're making, the fact that, you know, the direction they're taking, how often have you told them how exciting it is, how supportive you are? Because don't, for 1 minute, think that all this is a given. Because it's not. We need to hear it just as much as they do. You know, when we're in the office and, you know, and you've burnt the midnight oil and you've got to report in on time and your boss goes, right, thanks, and doesn't acknowledge all your hard work. How does that make you feel? Well, remember that your kids are the same. They need to be appreciated. They need to know that you love them unconditionally. And if nothing else from this video, take that away with you and know that they need your support and your verbal support. And okay, they might just go, oh God, whatever, Dad. Yeah, believe me, it goes in. And it needs to be said, and it's not said enough. Yeah? So that is important, unconditional love, but let them know about it. Also, and it's a bit like everything else, you know, being the role model, being their supporter, be their guide them, give them advice, not, you know, ask if they want it first, rather than, now listen, what you've got to do is, hey, can I give you a pointer here? Or, you know, I'm seeing you struggling, maybe have you tried this? Because that works. And they know that you've got their back. And by being involved in your child's life, by knowing their friends, by knowing their struggles, by knowing what homework they're doing, I'm not saying breathing down their back, but just being involved and knowing where they're at and what's going on in their head. And that is, I know that's easier said than done, but just keep an eye out and just see what they're up to, because it really, really helps. So 10 quick pointers to help you with consequences as opposed to discipline. Number one is understand your child and understand that this chaos that's going in there through their head, they're not being stroppy. And I've said it all along, it's biology, it's hormones, it's their body teaching them all about independence, and they're still bloody living under your roof. And don't think that it's not just you that's struggling, it's them. So number one, understand. Number two, respect. I know respect is earned, I get that. But by showing respect, it actually mirrors back and sort of comes back full circle. So understand the situation, and as I've said, understand that situation that your child's in. Maybe they're struggling, maybe they don't know what they're doing, but respect that they're trying, and respect that it's up to you to help them, and understand that, yeah, they might screw up. But they're young adults, and they need. I keep on saying, if you follow any of my online airings, be it YouTube or Facebook, I say that we've got 3 basic needs amongst all the others, but the 3 basic needs that, from parenting point of view, is that we all us and our children need to be loved, need to be understood, and need to be respected. Okay? And I've actually touched on all three of those, funnily enough, in the last 5 minutes. So that will sort of resonate quite well. So number 2, respect them. Number 3, spend one-to-one time with them. And I don't mean, sitting nose to nose going, tell me how you are, because that really would scare anyone away. But I don't know, go for a walk or do a bit of, I don't know, watch Game of Thrones. God, it's coming out in 3 days' time, 17th, the 7th, whatever. Or is it? Oh my God, I can't remember. I don't even know what date it is today. So just spend one-to-one time with them. And you could be just chilling. You could be just doing a hobby together. You could just be, I don't know, talking about a newspaper article or helping them with their personal statement or, or with a job interview, or are they having mates round, or are they baking cookies? It doesn't matter what it is. Your kids just want to spend time with you. And the more you understand what makes them tick, the easier all this is, and it just starts dropping into place. So spend time with them. And I don't mean the whole day, but if it works, cool. But drop them off at parties. Whatever works for you, you'll know. But just raise the time you spend with them. And quality time is good, but snatched half hour here and there is just as good. Also, the point is, and we have said it throughout, but know what your expectations are. And I would say, so set and discuss the expectations, because once they have sort of, been laid out and discussed, and a bit like, I would expect that all your homework is done 2 days before it needs to be handed in, just in case. And they might go, oh God, Mum, that's ridiculous. Okay, all right, well, the day before then. But I'm not having, having a full clear day, but I'm not having you burning the midnight oil, finishing a project on the Victorians with sort of 75 pages to print out and low ink on the printer. Do you know what I mean? So set out your expectations, or curfew times, or who's driving where, or your expectations as a part of smoking or sex or drugs or whatever it is. Set out the expectations and discuss them. Don't think for 1 minute that what you think is what your child understands. A bit like the don't be late, getting back from the party example. Their expectations and their understanding of a comment will be very different to yours. So be specific. Vital. Mum, can I go for a sleepover? Yeah, but be back by the morning. Which morning? Do you know what I mean? It might seem fairly straightforward to you, but if there's a loophole, it'll be found. So be very, very specific. Also, just support your child. Even if it's the homework thing, well, you say that I've got to do all this myself and I don't know what to do. Oh, well, that's okay, I can help you. Do you need me to print it out? Do you need me to write it out? Do you need me to drive you to the library? As if we do that nowadays, it's all on Google. But do you know what I mean? What can I do to facilitate this? Because what did I say about teamwork? If your child thinks that you're all in it together, how cool is that? Yeah? So, support. Number 7, accountability. Once you've started agreeing all this, now if you've done number 5 properly, setting and discussing the expectations, your child will become accountable to their decisions, to the agreements that they've made with you, and it will give them that degree, as I said earlier, that degree of responsibility. And so they know what's expected of them and they will be accountable for their actions. That's got to be so much better than just expecting everyone to get it right, because your version of right will not be theirs. So spotting this and okay, when for argument's sake, you might get all the ground rules wrong, or you might get 1 or 2 of them wrong, and then you have to go and revisit. And it was, well, I told you to be in by 12:30. Well, yeah, but we didn't realise that the bus timetables sort of stopped at 11, so we had to wait for a cab that took 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? So things do have to change, but and you've got to be fluid, but work out their accountability that if they, for argument's sake, if you miss the bus or if you have to get a taxi or if, let me know, text me, WhatsApp me, whatever it is, okay? Number 8, sometimes you get something like, oh, but I forgot. Oh, I forgot that that's what you meant. Write it down. If necessary. I did this with a young client of mine. He just went, oh no, well you see, I keep on forgetting the times. It was for a revision timetable. I keep forgetting the times and, you know, and it was all so complicated and I kept forgetting. And I went, oh, okay, right, that's fine. We're going to write it out and you're going to sign it and your mum's going to sign it. And then you'll take photocopies of your revision timetable so that everyone has a copy. And then your mum will put one on your bedroom door and one on the fridge and you can take a picture of it and put it on your phone as well. So write it down and then shove copies absolutely everywhere so there is no excuse. And the point is, by writing it down, it sort of gets it in here. And it might feel a bit like belt and braces, but again, as I said, if there's wiggle room, there's wiggle room. Yeah, makes sense? Number 9, be consistent. Oh my stars, be consistent. Do you know what? I really don't think that I have to say much more about that. Or maybe I do, because it's a bit like setting your expectations, isn't it? I can't assume that you realise, you know, yeah, come on, you're intelligent adults. Be consistent, because if you sort of say, oh, I don't know. Yeah, well, we did say that science homework had to be done by Wednesdays to be handed in on Friday. But, oh, we had a bit of this going on and we had a bit of that and then we let it slip and, you know, and, oh, well, it's understandable. Yeah, I've said be flexible, but you've got to be consistent, because otherwise, if your child slips and doesn't quite do as they were told or moves the boundaries a bit, oh yeah, but Mum, don't you remember last time that happened and you didn't get cross? So be consistent, definitely. And also point 10, right, it just depends what your family dynamics are. But, and it's a bit like be consistent, but it's make sure that all the adults in your child's life, give or take, I was going to say both parents need to sing from the same hymn sheet, but the point is that not everyone has both parents in the same household. Not every child has both parents in their lives. But the point is that if you're a single parent doing the role of both, then the buck stops with you totally. I get that. But the point is that if there are 2 parents involved, either in the same house or different houses, establish the ground rules of communication here. Because if your child goes, well, Dad lets me do that, and oh, well, Mum's so much nicer, you know. So agree with the other parent the approach that you're going to adopt. Now, in fairness, sometimes you can't. I get that. And if that's the case, lay out your ground rules with your child and say, listen, Dad lives in this house and has that set of rules. Mum lives in that house and has that set of rules. Life is not fair, but this is the way your cards are dealt. This is the way it's going to be. So then they know that Dad expects X and Y and Mum expects that. Or, listen, don't PC, please don't get on me, you know, Dad and Dad, Mum and Mum, you know what I mean, Granny or whoever or whatever, you know what I'm saying. Is the point that if there are more than one adult that is involved in the upbringing of the child, establish those ground rules to make sure there is as much consistency and make sure that where possible you are all singing from the same hymn sheet, yeah? And the point is that, you know, if you're one parent, if you're both parents living in the same house and the child comes to you and sort of says, Dad, is it all right if my homework isn't handed in until tomorrow? And you go, oh, sure, yeah. And then Mum sort of goes, no way. Your child is going to play one parent off the other. When that happens, put your hands up and say, right, I've been had here, and work out with both adults how you are not going to allow that to happen again. But don't go into blame, don't go into, oh my God, didn't you realise this is what we should have been doing all along? Yeah, no point, the milk's already been spilt. So I would suggest, oh God, she got us that time, or that, you know, and work out how best to sort it out. I wish you luck, and it's, you know, we're treading on eggshells the whole time, and it's hard work sometimes. But the point is that my view is, if you feel the need to punish your child, that's really the point of no return. That's the last ditch. How the hell can I get control over a situation that's gone belly up anyway? And if you set your expectations and sort of start treating your child like an adult with a wary eye of making sure that they're behaving, then it's not going to be perfect, but it might be a hell of a lot easier. Yeah? So thank you for joining us. Teen Toolbox Tuesday, all about discipline today. Please share this video. Please like and comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already, and press the bell notification so that next time we send you an update, you will hear all about it. There will be a handout on my free app, which is the Teen Toolbox, and the handout will be all about discipline, so keep an eye out for it. Sign up to the app and then ping, you'll get told when it's uploaded. So good to see you, thank you very much, and I shall catch you next Tuesday. Bye bye.